Hi, my name is Ryan. I'm a physical therapist here at PB Rehab, and I want to talk to you about rotator cuff injuries. A rotator cuff can be inflamed or it could be torn, and there's different degrees of how bad it's torn. Typically, an inflamed rotator cuff and a micro tear within a rotator cuff present themselves physically as the same, but a major tear in the rotator cuff is pretty easy to identify, and I won't really talk about how to rehab those. Those typically need surgery, but typically with somebody with a rotator cuff injury, they're going to get this from doing a lot of repetitive activities overhead. They can get it from just lifting a heavy item overhead. They could also get it from doing pushing activities or doing activities in sports like throwing. So those are your common ways to injure your rotator cuff. What the rotator cuff is, it's a group of 4 muscles that run off the shoulder blade, and they come around to attach 3 of them to the greater tuberosity and another one to the lesser tuberosity, but both in the anterior aspect of the shoulder. Their names are the infraspinatus, the teres minor, and the supraspinatus, and then there's also one called the subscapularis. What they will do is to provide, when they work together, they provide dynamic stability to the shoulder. So when the shoulder is moved, they will contract to provide force closure within the glenohumeral joint, and then that'll keep the shoulder from being unstable during activities. They also work with the deltoids to try to work to abduct the shoulder, flex the shoulder, and rotate the shoulder. And when a person presents to the clinic, those movements we look at to see if they're weak, because that helps us to identify if you have a tear, a tendonitis, or a major tear within the rotator cuff. One of the manual muscle tests that we'll see here is it's an abduction resistance. First of all, if it's a major tear and you ask somebody to hold their arm up like that, it's likely to drop. So don't let the arm drop, and go ahead and let it drop. And they won't be able to hold it up. That's called a positive drop arm test. But the micro tears and the tendonitis, typically what you see is that a person might have either some subtle weakness or some pretty significant weakness, but typically the severity of the tear coincides with how much weakness there is. But if you say, hold your arm up and don't let me push it down, and they can't hold against the resistance, there's a good chance they might have an injury to the rotator cuff. Another thing that the rotator cuff should do is externally rotate the shoulder. Don't let me push it in, hold it there. And if they can't fight against your resistance and hold against that, likely they could have a tear in the rotator cuff, or at least a tendonitis. If this injury is identified, there's several ways to treat it. Some exercises that I like to do are exercises with TheraBands. You want to go ahead and stand up for me. I'll move the chair out. If you feel like you might have some injury to your rotator cuff, you can get a band. They come in different colors, and I like to start out light and work my way up. The yellow is the lightest resistance, and what we'll do is an external rotation of the shoulder. Grab that for me. Take your other hand and put it underneath your armpit, just like that, and there, and then smile at the camera and go ahead and rotate out, and you get it there, and then you pause, and then you let it in real slow, and then go ahead and repeat that for me. In. Do 20 of those a couple times a day. Then you can turn around and face the other way and do the same thing, except scoot that way a little bit farther. Turn this way, and then bring it in towards your body. In slow, pause. Reps of 20 a couple times a day. And then another series of exercises, you get a small dumbbell or maybe a soup can, something that you find in the kitchen. And we do three-way raise, thumb up, raise it up, stick it, 1, 2, down slow. Do 20 in this direction. And don't go above 90 degrees, because a lot of times, most of the time, what happens is when the rotator cuff is inflamed or irritated, it'll get pinched underneath the acromion. So if you raise the arm too high, you'll just irritate it. So you want to keep your strengthening exercises below 90. So another one of the 3-way raise is abduction. And down. Do 20 of those. And then you find your way in the middle here. This is called scaption. And up. Slow, so 20 in the front, 20 to the side, 20 in the middle. Combine that with your TheraBands, and that's a good way to help you recover from an injured rotator cuff. Thank you.